You are now tuned in to the #1 nursing podcast in the world, the Scrub Me In podcast by Nurse Junior and Anthony.
You are now tuned in to the #1 nursing podcast in the world, the Scrub Me In podcast by Nurse Junior
and Nurse Anthony.
Yo.
What it is.
What it do, what it is, man. Season 1.
Season 1, episode 10.
Episode 10.
Woo! With the fresh fit.
With the merch. I don't know if our editor Bill can zoom into this, but you know, this is the first line, the first merch. Just trying it out.
Yeah, sir.
We'll be wearing it, probably on every episode.
You already know. Maybe we'll have some merch coming out for y'all to order as well.
Yeah, we got a lot of ideas that we're gonna be presenting. So keep stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is episode 10,
yes,
season 1 finale. A lot to talk about, really. So actually, I wanted to tell you this one joke that my homeboy told me. And it has something to do with, obviously, nursing. I'm trying to remember how it went. He said something along the lines of, there's 3 types of nurses, male nurses.
Okay.
He said that there's 3 types of male nurses. The first ones are lazy. Mm-hmm. The second one, Filipino. Lazy, Filipino, and gay. Oh. Those are the 3 types of male nurses in the profession.
That is hilarious.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Crazy, right?
Oh, my God.
I ain't going to say his name because...
I plead the fifth. Which kind of nurse are you?
Out of those 3, I'm lazy.
You look Filipino, though. Nah, shit.
Nah, but shout out to the Filipino nurses, especially the female ones.
God, you ain't lying, man.
Those lumpias, man.
This guy said the lumpias.
Pansit?
Yo, you already know.
Ole.
Yo, shout out to all them titas and titos out there that are on the floor with us, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yo, I salute you, man.
Salute them a lot. They're probably one of the hardest working nurses out there, for sure.
Without question.
Damn.
Without question, bro.
They saturated the profession though, but they work well as a mother.
This guy said the lumpias though.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's funny.
This episode, man, we're gonna have an anonymous guest caller.
Yes, sir.
Close to the end, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we're just gonna talk about certain topics. The first one was a story that I wanted to share. This happened to me a couple years ago. I think I was working in the PACU in the level 1 trauma facility I was at Detroit Receiving. It was like 4 or 5 a.m. We got a call saying a trauma's coming in. We're like, oh shit. The night was going smoothly, mind you. And usually when the night's going smoothly and we have no cases, we're all just scattered in our own happy place, happy space, wherever it may be.
Right.
Me, it's in one of these rooms with a recliner chair, television on, NBA basketball, watching a highlight. I'm chilling.
Damn, so you really are the lazy nurse.
In this moment, yes.
Damn.
I plead the fifth.
I'm talking shit.
I plead the fifth. Oh, man. So... what happened? So I had like my work cell phone on. It rang. Hey, we got a level 1 trauma coming. We need you out in the PACU pre-op area. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll be there. I get there. They're rolling in the patient. Bro, this is like a 50-something-year-old Hispanic male.
Okay.
Doesn't speak a lick of English.
Okay.
So we're all surrounding him. The OR nurses, myself and my coworker at the time. And the anesthesiologist was there, CRNAs, and we're just trying to ask him, what the hell's going on? And he needs to go in like quickly. We're trying to ask him about like the basics. Oh, what's your name, last name, allergies, like tell us what's going on, just so that way we're safe as well too in terms of like documentation and we don't fuck up or do something that we're not supposed to do.
Of course.
While in there. So we have to go through these questioning.
Absolutely.
And he has to sign whatever he needs to sign. So we're asking, yo, what's going on? Luckily, there was an ER nurse, I think, at the time who spoke Spanish. But I think for the earliest moments of that sequence, we had this phone, like a Duolingo phone.
Okay.
Where you boop, 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 and then you call whoever it is on the other end.
Yeah, just like an interpreter.
Yeah, interpreter. But it wasn't working at that time. So now we get the Hispanic nurse from the ER, and now we're talking to her so that way she can talk to, to translate.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the questions was, sir, what happened? Like, what brings you in today? Like, what the hell happened? And, he's speaking in his he's speaking, and then she translates to us, and then she kind of makes like a funny face, like, yo, what is this guy talking about? So we're like, yo, talk to us. Like, what's going on? What did he say? Yeah, he said that, mind you, this time it's like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, he said that he was gardening in the back of his house.
What the?
Yeah, cap. And he said that 2 Black African Americans ransacked him in his backyard
while he was gardening,
pulled down his pants, and shoved something up his butt.
Boo. Yo. No Diddy.
Yeah. No Diddy.
Yo.
And we were all like, oh, hell no. This is why the hell we're up now? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So, obviously, the anesthesiologist, CRNA, they have other questions that they want to ask. You know what I mean? Clearly, we weren't getting the answers that we wanted to hear or needed to hear.
He just put it up his own booty, but
basically, I think that's what it came down to.
Absolutely.
So, there was some booty play on the field at this point. No Diddy. So, they took him back, had to get whatever the hell he inserted it up in there. And can you guess what they pulled out?
I was about to say some racist. I was going to say something like a carrot because he was gardening.
Nah. No carrot. This is probably worse than I wish he had a carrot in there.
Really?
Bro, he had I'm going to tell y'all. He shoved up, or the 2 black guys shoved up a Red Bull can.
Holy shit. Now, why on earth would some niggas pull up to you and
that's what I'm saying.
Red Bull can
in Detroit. If anything, they're robbing you.
100%.
They're taking your Cardis. They're taking your Rollie.
100%.
They ain't doing that. So he shoved up. I'm assuming he had to be the one.
Of course.
He shoved up a Red Bull can up his bum.
Of course.
Thinking it'd probably give him wings.
Oh my God. Woo! I can feel it right now. Clenching my booty cheeks.
Insane.
Okay, so what happened?
So yeah, they rolled him back. They took it out, and typically, I don't know why the facility that I worked at did this, but every single thing that they pull out of a patient, they Ziploc it and they put it into inventory. I don't know if it's
inventory.
I'm telling you, like there's a room where they have a case of like shit that's been pulled out
just
of the
like anus. A trophy case.
Basically, I went in there once and I stepped the fuck back out. I said, nah, there's no way in hell no.
Bro, that's crazy.
Man, there's been so many situations that I've seen butt play.
That's crazy.
Dildos, a vase,
for sure,
a mini vase,
for sure.
Bro, this was crazy.
I got
a gerbil.
You know what? Because if you've been to Thailand, you know that ain't that crazy.
Yeah,
which is crazy to say out loud. But yeah, bro, in Thailand they got these little ping pong shows, and they'll shoot some crazy shit out of some pussy, bro. It's crazy.
That's wild.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, bro.
Wow.
But you know what's crazy? That butt play kind of reminds me of a story. So this was a while ago. This is probably like maybe 2 years ago. And some girls on my unit that were there this day could attest to this. No, I don't think it was my patient. I think I was just helping out. So we had a patient one day that had an ostomy, right?
Okay.
And for those of you that aren't nurses or don't know what an ostomy is, essentially you have to have when you have bowel issues, you have to have a resection And an ostomy creation, it's essentially what they're doing is disconnecting your rectum from the booty hole and bringing it out to your stomach because there's part of your colon that just isn't working. So, and then they put a bag there to catch the shit that's coming out of your new hole. So this lady has an ostomy. Now, I guess she received like a bowel obstruction, so the ostomy was no longer working. So she came in a ton of pain, whatever. So the doctor ordered an enema, essentially, through the ostomy. Now, at the time, it was, I think, a relatively new nurse had her. Obviously was like passive with it and was just like, yo, I can't. And she also had like an x-ray or CT done and showed like a ton of shit in her abdomen. And so she's like, yo, I can't figure this out. A doctor put this in. And I was like, yeah, you just fucking, like a regular enema. No big deal. She's like, yo, can you give me a hand? Because even as soon as the enema tip goes in, she's like fucking screaming bloody murder, like it's just so painful. So I was like, fuck. We got to do it. Like, we got to get that shit out. So I went in with her. We gave her some pain meds before we started. And I just put that shit in and was just, like, violently fucking pushing this fucking fluid inside. And nothing. And you could kind of see the opening to her enema was a little bit swollen as well.
Yeah.
So, man, we were just trying. And we almost, thought we could try to disimpact her. So we put a pinky in and nothing, but she was in so much pain. We asked another nurse that's been a nurse for 30 years to come try to do this too. And she's like, yo, if you guys try it, I'm going to do the same thing, So we called the doctor. We're like, yo, this lady ain't shitting. And she'd been here for a minute now. We need to get this shit out,
Yeah.
So he's like, yo, I'll be right there. And he's a great surgeon. I love this guy. So he comes, does the same thing. Obviously, the lady's in agony. Nothing. He's like, fuck this. Puts everything to the side and just fucking puts his fingers in her ostomy, and he's just disimpacting her. And this lady's screaming, and she's screaming, and he's like, hold her down. I was like, what the fuck?
He said to hold her down.
He said, hold her down, because she's squirming, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he's like, hold her down. So he's just disimpacting her, just grabbing shit out of here. Oh. And there was no type of I know based on the story, you probably think, oh, he's pulling out some wild shit. No, it was all shit.
Yeah.
It was all shit. But he had pulled something out that you could tell piqued his interest. And he you could tell he was he knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was. The other nurses didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So whatever, we disimpacted her. We gave her another enema, and now it was just kind of flowing on its own.
Right.
And so whatever, it was all good. So we just fucking put a new hardware on, and she was good. She was shitting. So then, I'm not going to say the doctor's name, but I was like, yo, doc, it seems like you knew kind of what happened while we were in there. What's good? What happened?
Yeah, what was it?
And he was like, so there's this growing issue I'm finding with ostomies where people unfortunately get a little adventurous with their partners. And
oh, hell no. Oh.
He's like, what I think happened here was there was some sort of penetration.
Well, some
foul play. He feels like what he had pulled out on some of the shit was semen. So he said the reason this happened was someone was playing with her shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, huh. He's like, yeah, you have to think of it think about how swollen it was. There was obviously some sort of penetration because the enema is not thick enough to make her that swollen.
Yeah.
He's like, there was some penetration there, something irritated. He's like, I did this surgery. She was just fine. He said, I had her follow-up appointment. She was just fine. And he's just like, this is what happens when you play with the booty in the stomach.
They got too adventurous out there,
bro.
Man.
And yo, this was crazy. just when he was telling me, I was like crazy.
That's insane. You would think they would just stick to the hop to you or something. You know what I mean? Like if y'all listening, just stick to the hop to you.
But what my thing was, and this is what he said too. He's like, "Yo, your old booty hole, no shit's coming out of it. Like
that's free game.
That's free game." Yo, he's telling me this. He was like, "Yo, these people are crazy." He's like, "Yo, you don't even know when some of these enemas are gonna start being active. Like, you could, someone could shit on you in the middle of this shit
for real."
He's like, "But you got a clean hole right there in the same spot it was before."
Dead ass.
Like, and I was
literally
like, Doc,
dead ass.
I was like, "Doc, you know what you're doing here. This is a problem." Like,
that's crazy to think of, honestly. And you know, I guess doctors these days, they got to start educating individuals about that, because a lot of people are adventurous. I've heard of stories like that. Now that I think about it,
Junior, that's fucking crazy.
It's
okay,
fucking
but
disgusting.
Here's the thing: we hear about these stories, but to have someone on your unit
that's actually experienced it and has done it, oh yeah, it's a whole different motion.
And I kind of believe him too. Like this lady that was in this situation, she wasn't like super old. Like she was young, like at an age where you wouldn't be surprised if she's still sexually active and all these things. So I was like, yeah, she was probably active, you know?
Different.
Yeah, bro.
Wow. I guess we'll move on to the next story.
Yeah.
So this one's about a nursing student. I don't know where the hell she's from, but the title of this article is "Adult Nursing Student Refuses to Give Her Phone to Her Teacher to Hold for the Day and is Kicked Out of Class."
Okay.
So when a nursing student arrived for her clinicals, she was told by her teacher that she would need to hand over her cell phone to her for the next 9 hours. When she refused to do so, she faced consequences that she argued were unfair. Now the woman is asking others if she was wrong and if it was within her leader's right to ask for her phone. The 32-year-old student named Shell detailed her experience in a TikTok video that has been viewed by over 1 million people. The teachers in my program, this is her speaking now.
Right.
The teachers in my program have this rule where when we go to clinicals, we have to physically give our phone to them for 9 hours, except for lunch, she said. However, as the mother to young children, this rule would simply not work for Shell. When Shell explained her situation to her teacher and refused to hand over her phone, she was asked to go home, which she immediately obliged. Still, she was not going down with the fight. I ended up leaving and I called the administration at the school because, for one, nowhere in the student handbook, in the policy, nothing that I have signed says that I have to physically give them my phone. We'll cut it there, but all in all, in more details, you know, I guess she had a meeting with administration, the dean, et cetera, and you know, I guess she vocalized how there's nothing written policy-wise prior to her applying to nursing that stated that she needs to hand over her phone or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Her biggest concern is, I have 2 toddlers or infants, whatever the case may be,
Right.
that is either in daycare, and we know how daycares are. Mm-hmm. I think we talked about it on one episode.
Yeah, we did.
It was the
fentanyl. Y'all be giving these kids fentanyl.
The rainbow fentanyl. No, they were selling rainbow fentanyl
in the daycare, but like upstairs or something. Yeah.
But they were giving melatonin.
Oh yeah.
They were giving melatonin to the kids.
Oh yeah.
But I understand her concern. Anything can happen while you're in clinicals,
Absolutely.
to be honest. So I get where she's coming from, but I also get the school's point of view, where, you know, students shouldn't have their phones on them.
See, I disagree though.
Oh yeah? I'm just playing devil's advocate. I personally feel like it should be okay for her to have her phone with her. There should be moments where she can go to her phone. Matter of fact, Apple Watches. I have an Apple Watch on. But if the teacher's trying to turn off your phone, compromise and be like, all right, miss, you can have my phone, but don't shut it off.
That's right. But here's my thing. My question is, if someone has their phone in their pocket on silent or vibrate even.
Right. Is it causing any distraction?
What's the distraction?
Exactly.
And here's my thing too. Like if I have my phone on vibrate and someone's calling me and calling me, there's probably an emergency.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's different if I'm just pulling it out while we're on the unit and I'm just fucking around. That's a totally different story. But if there is an emergency and I have kids and dependents, whatever, and I need that phone on me, I'm keeping it on me, bro. Ain't nobody telling me that I can't.
For sure. And I think that's what she was arguing about. There was even a part where I think someone commented saying, well, maybe think about giving her a burner phone. A burner phone for what? Why am I giving my professor a burner phone?
Why am I buying a burner phone, bro?
No, I have my main phone. Let me have exactly my main phone on me. It's just mind-boggling. But no, I think to this day they still haven't come up with a compromise. And honestly, if it's not within the policy, you shouldn't really be able to take a student's phone and hold on to it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't doubt that in this day and age, maybe there is an issue with kids
making TikToks.
But here's the thing. When I was in school, we had a policy that when you're on the unit, you can't record or take pictures or do none of this shit. And there actually was a girl while I was in school that took like a Snapchat. And it didn't even have I remember seeing the video, but it had like the very smallest little corner of like a patient chart, like down the way you had to like zoom in times 15 to see it. And she got kicked out.
Oh, goddamn.
Just off of that one program. So here's my thing is you give these kids the opportunity to have their phones and do what they want to do. Obviously, we have the policy that, you can't have it on the unit. You can't make videos. You can't do this because it can violate confidentiality rules.
For sure.
And when they violate those things, you take appropriate action. But to be like, nah, we're going to just take your phones, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's insane.
Are you crazy?
I pay the bills, goddammit. I pay the phone bill.
Yo, facts, though. Like, who are you to tell me that I can't have my phone on me?
It's crazy. But then again, let me play devil's advocate again. There might have been a student in the past that might have done something so stupid with their cell phone that it may have caused the school to take these precautionary actions, right?
Yeah, but what do? You deal with the student on a case-by-case basis based on the policies the school has.
Right, exactly. Or you make that policy beforehand saying, we don't want any phones on the unit.
Sure, but that policy has to extend to the instructor.
Definitely. You're right about that.
What do you do?
If you're taking my phones, all right, put your phone in the goddamn drawer as well too.
And then, because if you have a phone, what's your excuse going to be? Oh, just in case an emergency. Well, that's why I have my phone.
That's a fact. I wonder if that girl actually pulled that out.
And I've thought about, even if I was a clinical instructor as an example, like, if I had students and you need your phone because you have kids or, bro, for any reason, if you have your phone on your person, bro, just turn it off, put it on vibrate, put it on silent, whatever. So if people still need you, they can get in contact with you.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why she just didn't say, oh, my phone's in the car.
Done. Yeah, you want to go get my phone?
But realistically, it's in your bag.
Right.
Just lie.
Just lie.
Just lie.
Yeah, I love lying.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. Oh, Junior, you missed work. Are you feeling better? Yeah. God damn it, I was at the Chris Brown concert.
Did you go to that meet and greet too?
No. Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, that Chris Brown shit. He's one of the most dangerous men on the planet.
Bro, on the planet.
I will never take my girl to a Chris Brown concert. Never.
Dude, don't even bring it up to me or we're breaking up.
Hell no.
Are you crazy?
I'll take you to go watch New Edition or goddamn, who else ain't popping?
You know what?
Right
matter
now?
of fact, fuck them too. All right,
Genuine.
You ain't going nowhere. All right, you want to go to a concert? Go to the Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah, let's go watch Taylor Swift. Something like that. But yeah, okay. But yeah, that was just one story that I wanted to pop off real quick. But yeah, insane, right?
Man, crazy. Nobody's taking my phone for nothing.
All right, so we're moving on to the next segment. This next segment is us talking with the fans, or I'm talking to a guest over the phone, essentially. So this individual is going to be kept anonymous. And what he has to share is pretty much a big picture on what's going on with healthcare, not only in the prison system, but also outside.
Okay.
I guess he was called into jury duty, and the situation or the case that they shared was pretty interesting, actually. So I said, you know what? Would you be interested in talking about it on the podcast? And he said, sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give him a call real quick and have him break it down. Let's see if he'll go through.
Yo, hello?
Yo, what's good? What's good? You on the podcast, the Scrub Me In podcast?
Okay. Glad I made it.
So you already know us. My name is Junior, and to the left of me, we got
Nurse Anthony with you, big homie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
You know, glad to be on it, and y'all are hilarious, man.
so you're the first phone guest right now. So, and this is episode 10, by the way. So the season finale.
All right. Cool.
So you want to share to the listeners, the scrubbers, as we call it, your alias.
Yeah. My name's Mello. Just keeping it low key.
For sure. All right, thank you once again, Mello, for being a caller. Mm-hmm. So you shared something you shared an event that happened to you recently. We kind of talked about it a little bit, the jury duty. That's as much as we said. We'll let you get into it. So tell us.
For sure. Yeah. Again, just want to say thank you guys for having me on. Much appreciated and stuff. And keep doing what you guys are doing, man. You guys are hilarious, and making my day a lot brighter as I go. So it's good to be.
Appreciate it, gang.
Oh, definitely. I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, just as you said, I'm just here today to speak on what I went through for my jury duty. So obviously, there's a lot of names that I have to leave out, and hopefully I might slip up. So hopefully y'all can catch the edit.
Hey, we got you. Yeah, dog. Our editor Bill will handle that. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, basically, so this is, I know some of your viewers might be American as well. So this is, I'm even struggling to say where this is, but yeah, it's in Canada. I think I'm good to say that it's in Canada. And basically, so I didn't have so this wasn't a trial. It was more of an inquest. And they were basically looking to just, no one's at fault in this situation. So they were just looking to see on things the ministry could improve on, on how things went down. And obviously, I wouldn't be on this podcast if it wasn't nursing related. So so when I get into that, I'm sure your listeners would probably pique an interest there. But yeah, I got summoned for jury duty. I'm a weird individual. I wanted to get called. I like that whole law process. So, I wanted to get called, got selected. Once I got selected, it was myself and about 8 other people. But they needed to wean it down to 5. So honestly, my heart was racing on the first day because I was like, "Oh shoot, I could go home."
Did you want to go home, or did you want to actually survive?
No, I didn't want to go home.
He wanted to win.
I wanted to win. I wanted to be in the money.
Sorry. Before you continue, talk to the listeners right now about jury duty, because there are probably some individuals right now who have never done jury duty. Myself, I know I got called in for jury duty out in Detroit, Michigan for this coming September. So let people know a little bit about that if you have some info on that. On can you decline? Can you not? Do you get paid?
Yeah,
do they cover parking?
So as those are good questions, and luckily, as the pandemic shifted, I actually never had to leave my home, so everything was over Zoom.
Okay.
So yeah, you get summoned when you get summoned. It's mandatory. So your situation has to be kind of favorable for you to get out of it. And by favorable, I mean like there can't be any like monetary or work related instances or conflict of interest. Like you can't know the person, the people who are involved, right? So as long as that's all checked out, you're good to you make it to the second round, which I didn't know about until I was there. And basically, that kind of sums that part up about being summoned. And once I was out of these, one out of these 8 people, 2 other people didn't make it in time. Like they logged in late. One person logged in late, and then one of the okay, well, you guys are gonna one of the coroners are like, yeah, you gotta go. Like, so it was right off the bat. So someone had to leave, because they came in late. But obviously they didn't say it like that. They said it a lot nicer.
Right. And this is all through Zoom, right?
This is all through Zoom, yeah. So, you're just behind your screen looking at these 7 other individuals.
So the camera has to be on. It can't be shut off.
Yeah, camera has to be on at all times. Yeah.
So you were you had a dress shirt on, but on the bottom you had boxers on or something.
Nah. I kept it 1A.
All right, bet.
I didn't really.
Type
shit. You gotta adjust. Yeah. You gotta adjust in like as long as it's not anything like graffiti or anything like that.
Right.
It can't be too like just too distracting. So I just put on a tee and that was good.
Okay.
Yeah. But they like half the time I had on shorts because because of computing,
For sure.
It's hot. Yeah. So, but they weaned it down. One other person was having technical difficulties, so they had to go. And then it was just me and the 4 other people that was with me. Cool cats that was with me. So it was very, heart was racing the first day. But that was just getting into it. So that's just the intro there. So getting into more in depth about the case. All right, should I start that now or good to go?
Go ahead, any pieces you want.
Okay. So the first day was a little dry. Can't lie, you're taking in a lot of information. My profession isn't in nursing, so a lot of like what was going on. So the first day they called a nurse and one of the nurse's managers to the witness stand, and basically and I apologize. I gotta think before I speak because I don't want to give out.
For sure, of course.
So the case did involve someone who died, unfortunately, and they died in a correctional facility. And they were looking at. So again, it wasn't who was at fault, but they were just looking at ways that these things could have been avoided, and
to improve, right?
Yeah, and obviously no one wants to die, but me, just where I'm at now, some things in life some things are unforeseen and some things are unavoidable, but I leave that up to the comments section to figure that out once they're done listening to what I gotta say.
Right.
But yeah, so we had two nurse. We had one nurse on. She was very confident about herself, and which was good. But she was also very distraught about what happened to the gentleman. And that gentleman he had a pretty rapport of being someone who was difficult. And I think that's the key here. Alcohol abuse, drug abuse, So and he obviously ended up in a jail. He wasn't in a prison. So we don't know the full details on his stay, how long he was there. He could have been he could have not been guilty, right?
Right.
So he was going through trial and everything. So yeah, this individual got into an altercation. So what we learned from the witness, what the nurse, the first nurse said, is he got into an altercation in the correctional facility, and he got hit. He got struck by another inmate, and then once he fell to the floor, he was he recovered, but then he was put on a watch. Then he was brought to the nursing staff that was in the hospital. And then
like the infirmary.
Yeah, they brought him to the infirmary. Yeah, that's right. They checked him out. So he was moved from one of the healthcare units to the infirmary, and they checked him out there. So he was placed in a higher level of care, but we got to see the video, and we just judging by what the nurse was saying, like, the infirmary wasn't really a real infirmary, and we were getting that sense from every witness that came about, and even the manager who spoke after the first nurse, and even the manager. So the manager was an interim manager who was looking after the healthcare, the day-to-day, the staffing, that sort of thing. I believe she might have been a nurse herself, but she was really someone who was just kind of put into a position that she was also new, and it looked like she took it very hard, and she might have not have been ready for that type of responsibility. She no longer works there, but that I wouldn't say this case really there was much negligence in play, but obviously certain things could have been handled better, but I wouldn't put it on the interim manager from what I've heard. But yeah, when he took that hit, he just presented with a bruise on his face.
Okay, so
he got
punched in the face.
Yeah, he got punched in the face.
Okay,
but that's the only thing that the nurses could visibly see and assess. So what I learned is the whole charting process. So when someone when there is a patient, or if someone gets an injury, this is all documented. Nurses document this on their healthcare charts. That the whole charting system was by paper, which was something not great to hear. Because papers get lost. Like, that's the reality, and it's a lot of people you're dealing with, and a few set of nurses that are probably just underpaid, and they're rushed, and working long hours, and papers go missing. Like, that's just the way. That's just normal.
So,
right?
So to pause you there, you said paper charting, and that is a big issue in healthcare right now. Like you mentioned, papers get lost. You have some doctors that have shit handwriting, chicken scratch.
The handwriting was atrocious.
Oh, bro!
I'm looking at. I'm looking at this.
Tell us what you see, Mello.
I'm looking at this writing, and so it's like literal chicken scratch. Like, so it's
from a doctor.
That
right?
was from a doctor.
They paid $6
person
figures.
Who received their MD.
Figures,
like, this
bro.
is, and I'm like, what is this? Honestly, the nurses by far had the better handwriting than the doctor, but like, it's still the doctors, but it still was just, it was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, that they get a tablet problem solved. Like everyone's,
Facts.
Healthcare. And then obviously, do printout every, you need some sort of redundancy in place. So do printouts every, on a bi-weekly basis just to make sure there's a paper trail, like for whatever, outage that happens or something. It doesn't
100% because based on what you're saying, you got inmates that are coming in and out sporadically.
Oh, this is it's a jail. Like they might be there for a month, or
maybe
a week,
day or a week, right?
Maybe exactly. So these aren't like actual like patients that are going, like that are admitted to like a hospital, like that the continuity of care is there, right?
Right.
So
it's a no-brainer just to switch digital. So that's one thing that I think.
Have a
fix.
Yeah,
but yeah,
have a tablet set up. Yeah. So she did her whole process. So even though she didn't, so this was one thing that unfortunately was a strike against the nurses that one of the other parties picked out, and I'm going to mention the parties now. So you have the nurses, you have the ministry, and you also have the doctors have their lawyers to defend them. So those are basically the public, the ministry, and the doctors. Those are basically the three parties that who are making arguments for this whole case, right? So the lawyers on the doctor's side, they picked apart the nurses for not fully documenting that they did what is called a Glasgow glaucoma scale assessment.
Yeah.
And that assessment is to be done after any head trauma, for what I could tell, right? So obviously, someone getting punched in the face warrants a head trauma assessment. So even though the nurses did do this, it seemed like something that they routinely did, and it's probably, and they did measure these metrics down on the paper, but they didn't. It's just something they didn't use their like a formal sheet. So it's like another sheet saying that they could have used this. So they didn't fill that out, which was unfortunate. But that there's another whole story in depth with that went into that. So yeah, this guy suffered a head trauma, but the punch wasn't it. So unfortunately, the nurses didn't get the whole picture because the information that was relayed to them was they only could get information from the person who got hit, who was difficult in nature, and the officers who probably didn't see the whole thing. And by officers I mean like the guards that are the correctional officers that are in the building. Yeah, they could only give so much of the story, but there's video evidence. There's cameras set up. So unfortunately, the nurses couldn't access the camera footage for whatever reason. So at the time, just also take that in mind that, so now when we're looking at it, so now us, the jury, we're looking at the video, and also the first nurse, she's also looking at it now with us for the first time on the stand, which was to me shocking. So she looks at the tape. Yep.
Sorry, I want to pause you real quick. So just to the listeners out there right now, Mello mentioned a Glasgow
coma scale.
Yeah. Blah. Yeah. Tongue twister. So essentially, that's a scale to measure someone's level of consciousness.
Correct.
Motor, and whatever the other shit is. So they use that to determine someone's level of consciousness.
Yeah. So it's like eye opening. Kind of like motor function, cooperating to
where you are, when you are,
right, and like cooperating to any questions or like anything you asked them to do. So as an example, you can, like when I come into a room, when I assess a patient, if I walk in and they spontaneously open their eyes, that's spontaneous opening. So the lower your scale is, the better the score is. So as an example, if I come into a room and I have to yell loud to get someone to open their eyes or to respond to what I'm saying, then they get a score and they score worse on the SCOMA scale.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's all to like that test is to determine if this person needs to, you know, have a higher level of medical attention.
Correct.
And it would be something immediate, and this was known throughout. So basically, which would have been like a CT scan, which a hospital would have. Not you wouldn't have that machine in a prison facility, or in a jail. But that. Sorry, I could keep going.
Go ahead. You're at the part where you said how the nurse at the time in real moment they didn't see the film or they weren't allowed to see the film.
Yeah.
However, during the case, that's when everyone saw the film for the first time, including the nurses.
And keep in mind that other nurses still to this day can't see that film. So only we were privy to that film.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, that's something to, you know, keep in mind. But when we saw what happened, and it was clear that, you know, again, you know, the person who suffered this injury, you could tell that, you know, from the videos, they kind of instigated the interaction, and the person who struck, probably give him a name.
The inmate.
Yeah, the inmate. Yeah. Let's just say John is the guy, you know, who we're talking about.
Okay.
So John instigated, you know, this whole thing, and then the inmate who he had an altercation with, you know, John got up in his face, and you could tell like the inmate was giving him a warning. You know, when you like say, you know those guys you're just not supposed to mess with, when they tell you, "Yo, get out my face," like they're telling you politely, you know, they give you that look. So yeah, he gave him one of those, and then
it seems like it was that episode. This is another Fresh Prince of Bel-Air moment. That episode with Will and Ashley. Back up, man. That's all. It's none Okay, so sorry. Continue.
Yeah. No, it's one of those still. Like I was just like, yo, this guy needs to move still. But anyway. So then he clocked him. John got clocked. John falls to the floor, and we immediately see that he didn't cushion his fall at all. And also John has his baseline, and that's a new term I learned. His baseline was he usually uses a cane. And that's like his status of his physical status, his mental status, I guess. He, like I said, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. He has this history. He's also on medication, which I'll touch on later. So he's not a person that's 100% healthy, and he is a middle-aged man. So he's not. His risk factors go up. So having all these things, right? So he gets hit in the head and falls to the floor, and it's not 100% clear, but you can see, you don't fully see the impact. There's sort of a table in the way, but you see him not cushion his fall, and his head, you can assume with almost certainty that he hits his head. There's no way, but the thing is, so he hits his head on the floor, but he gets up sort of quickly. Not that he's absorbed the impact. It was like a 1, 2, damn, what just happened? And then, okay, get back up. And then he doesn't retaliate. He's just kind of in shock,
Yeah. Yeah, because he got
so,
popped.
but that, yeah, he got popped. He learned his lesson right, right then and there, real quick. Yeah. And it's funny too, because the guy, the inmate, just said, so after that happens, they both need to write a report of what happened. Inmate just said it like it was. He obviously didn't want to snitch, so he left some things out. But the funny thing is John didn't say, he didn't write anything on his report of what happened. He's just like, keeping it on the dolo. So he knew he was at fault himself too.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much. So that was cool. I think, so I'll start to pick up a little stride here. They the first 2 days were a little dry. It was more of just, the witnesses going through it, seeing what they said, all the notes that they were taking. So we went through the first nurse, the manager, and then finally, so he was on a notice to see a doctor. Here's the thing. So he was on notice to see a doctor, but...
Was this prior to him getting hit, or?
After he got hit, he was on notice to see a doctor.
Okay.
And they put him on the triage score of 1 because it looked like they were, the nurses, like I said, I give credit to the nurse. They weren't taking any chances with this. So they put him, and I believe 1's the highest score.
Okay.
So it goes, if you're, you get triaged. If your number's higher, it's a less,
less acuity. So he was put on a higher, I guess, because it's kind of the opposite.
The highest.
So because he was a 1, that's considered a high acuity. I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So and the way how the doctors work, they work on shifts. So there's no permanent doctors on board. So once the doctor, when they see that in the morning, they go through all the triage ones and they try to see those patients first. But the conflicting thing is that his court dates were also scheduled in the morning as well. So by the time the doctor, so there was really a timing conflict for the first 2 days, and it also kind of happening on a weekend. That was also an issue. So he was on triage for 3 days, I think, before seeing a doctor. So that was, and there wasn't really like, 1 is already the highest. There's probably other people who have a 1. So, you got to factor those things in. Yeah. So there was nothing saying that he was on triage for multiple days, basically.
Okay.
So that was a bit concerning to me, and we did bring that up. But so now once the actual doctor came on board, he gave his points, but this guy didn't rub me the right way. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't hate doctors. And there'll be another doctor on that, comes on. But he just didn't, when you got that gut feeling about someone, and they're like, I don't know if what you're saying is, all the way true, right?
Right.
But we got to factor in that this has been years. This has been like, this trial is happening now, but this incident took place 5+ years.
Okay.
Right? So we don't always expect everyone. And this guy, like I said, they're all doctors working on shift. So it's not like they're seeing the same person. They're seeing thousands of people.
And not only that, this may be one of his side hustles, maybe his part-time job as well, too.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So so I'm coming in with that mindset, and I'm giving him that benefit. But he's not saying certain things confidently, right?
Okay.
He's saying things like, well, if I wrote that, that is what it is. And he's being a little dodgy about what he's saying. And I can understand the legality of it. And it's not like he's on trial. He's a witness.
Right.
So, I get, not wanting to be wholesomely honest, but I'm not going to say he wasn't, but I'm just going to say is I didn't really, I wasn't sold by what he said either, right? So he was the first doctor to write that he saw this patient, and it didn't appear that his note was originally, or it wasn't like, so when the charts aren't available, you would get another loose leaf. They called it a loose leaf paper, but it looked like just another chart, but blank. Okay. Right? A blank patient chart. And then you'd write those notes there, and then I don't know if you cut it out or, that kind. I'm a little hazy on those details, but it eventually found its way into the original chart.
Okay, so it seems as if what you're trying to say is that initial doctor or physician didn't chart in real time.
I one, don't think he charted in real time, and two, I don't know if he really even saw the guy. So that's the thing.
Because I do remember you saying earlier, Mello, that this physician and the nurses didn't actually have his chart because, they do paper charting. So everything's all scattered.
Exactly. Yeah. And this was one of the days that he probably, looked at, or maybe he did look at his chart and questioned, why is patient on the chart? Right. I think that's what it was. Right. Now that I recollect. Like, why is patient in infirmary?
Right. Like, why is he even triage 1? Like, why is he a priority to see?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I think that could be because he didn't have the full picture of this guy.
Got you.
And because remember, all you need to remember is he's a high risk factor. He was on medication. He was on blood thinners.
Right.
So this is one of the keys. He was on blood thinners.
He was on warfarin.
So yeah, he was on that. He was on warfarin, and I just, it didn't rub me the right way. Because if you knew that, I think if he knew that, and he was giving me the sense that if he had all that information, he would have sent him to the hospital right then.
Because if an individual is on blood thinners, a strike like that, a hit on the head to some degree would automatically spark something in a nurse's mind or even a physician's mind, like, oh, he's on blood thinners. Any type of impact can, automatically cause bleeding.
But not to mention, he also hit his head on the ground.
Yes, he also hit his head on the ground, like you mentioned, Mello. So automatically,
we don't know.
Right, in real time,
at this point, no one knows he hit his head on the ground, which is the sad part.
In real time, no one knew about this, listeners. They didn't have access to the cameras. The only ones that seen the camera film was the police officers, and we know that they weren't really trying to disclose that information to the nurses, I assume. Yeah. But if they
not the police, but the guards, in the prison. My
apologies. The guards, correct. Yeah. Now, if the nurses did see the film, off rip, he needs to go to the ER. He needs to get a CAT scan because he's on a high alert medication.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why, to me, I'm just like, nah, that wasn't adding up. So I didn't like what he was trying to put down. But anyways, I'll digress from that, doctor. And move on a little bit here. And then we finally got to the next witness was the healthcare, like the top healthcare official within the jail.
Okay.
So she got to say her piece, and obviously she's not handling she's not doing any direct patient care, right? She's just, she's an administrative person mainly, right? And she has procedures in place. Her big thing was, when in doubt, send them out. So that's the one thing I want you to remember.
Right.
And, she's honestly, she's very, very articulate, someone, who came across that they were caring, and she said her piece, and we all accepted what she said. But then the next day, we heard from another doctor.
Okay.
So this doctor, he saw the patient now because a nurse noticed a decline from his benchmark, and that triggered an alert.
What's the time frame on this?
This is 2 weeks later.
Holy.
Yeah.
So now, a week later, things simmer down. 2 weeks go by, nothing. This guy's normal. You tend to think that as a normal person who doesn't work in a healthcare facility, like I said, I'll be like, oh, you took a punch to the head. Oh, just put some spit on it. All right, you got one, right?
Yeah.
You're good. You're good. If a week later and you're good, there's nothing wrong. 2 weeks later, yeah, you're fine. Like, it's totally unrelated, right? Mm. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. So anyways, this doctor shows up and he's like, so he does his assessment and he also wonders why. So I know he saw saw John, this doctor. I know they met because he was able to write a more thorough report.
Right.
Whereas the other doctor, literally, there was maybe 5 words on that paper.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, I'll digress. So this doctor sees the patient and notices the signs. He does his assessment, and then he puts him on a head watch. So that's basically it. So a head watch in a jail system is someone will come on routinely. A head watch and a meal. The nurse put him on a meal watch, and then because he wasn't eating, and then the doctor put him on a head watch. So they wanted to kind of see how things were going before ultimately sending him out.
So essentially, close monitoring.
Yeah, close monitoring. But they did question why he was still in the infirmary for 2 weeks. But honestly, I probably forget why he was. I don't have that answer. But yeah, so he was put on that. And then I guess in looking at the notes, he couldn't really find anything glaring. He went back to what had happened to him, why he was in the infirmary. And remember, they don't know he got hit in his head, right? He took he got hit in the face, but they don't know if he got hit on the head or not.
Right.
And obviously 2 weeks go by and this is all the information you're given. Like, I can understand why this doctor, did what he did. And there's obviously information that I'm leaving out that he said is his piece, but he was, I trusted what he said. What he also said was that he didn't see eye to eye with the healthcare, the lead healthcare official that I just mentioned.
Right.
He actually ended up quitting. And they actually got into a very heated argument about it. Because he didn't like the practices that the head healthcare official was doing in terms of like late charting, patient care, and these things. So, and the infirmary wasn't really, like I said, it wasn't really set up. It wasn't no different. It was just a better bed and, your own personal space, I guess, right? So it didn't have equipment in it, like I don't know what's in a usual infirmary, but I'm guessing it would have some type of equipment. But yeah, so I could see like he was just being very candid about everything. And again, like for him to recollect those details versus the first doctor, this is why I think that like, if once you read your writing and you note something down, and you care about it, you tend to your memory starts to get jogged about the details.
Right.
And I was very impressed with how much he was able to remember. Seeing this, having an interaction 5+ years ago. So
So it seems like he was popping off his shit, like saying, you know what?
Oh yeah,
things need to change. Lack of resources in this facility. Paper charges are no. We need digital. You know, he was just. But who was he arguing with? You said with the administrator, the one that was well spoken.
With the lead. Yes, with that lead official that said, "When in doubt, send them out.
Get them the fuck out." Yeah. Shout out to her.
So, yeah. So, which is good, but you know, if that's what she, you know, said, you know, then you know, how can you argue? But the thing is, when a couple other nurses came on the witness stand, you know, and we asked them, "Hey, did she actually say this?" They all said no. They all denied it. So, like I said, there was some foul play going on.
So she was capping.
She might have been capping. Like you know, and it was funny too because one of the nurses was on the witness stand. It's Zoom. You can hear the hecticness in the background of, like, you know, the just what's going on, and she was while working, having this call. So it was very interesting that she couldn't get the time off work. But basically that happened. He was on a head watch until, unfortunately, things went completely south. Had to be rushed to the hospital a couple days later, and he ended up passing away.
Oh man.
He ended up passing away.
R.I.P. John.
Yeah. John the Third. R.I.P. But yeah, he like it was almost unavoidable, knowing the circumstances, until we lastly had an expert come in. So this was a neurologist, and he started explaining the whole. He started explaining, like, impact forces and rotational forces that can also
physics, essentially.
There was a bit of physics to it. So it wasn't just the impact that could have damaged, that caused what happened was, so what he was ultimately declared
diagnosed with, you mean?
Dead. Yeah, what he was diagnosed with was a subdural hematoma, and that's basically a inner brain bleed.
Yep.
And so we learned all about it. It was like school, taking all these notes. And he was explaining how the movement itself, with the alignment of the spine, from where, if you think of like a tether ball, right? So that movement of the initial place where it's at versus the time and place force, you know, that speed, that speed can cause a shaving of that membrane as well. The membrane within your skull, alone. So that's also a factor that played a part. And the fact, so the membrane is that spinal fluid that is forming as you get older. The brain shrinks a bit, but there can't be any air in the head. So your spinal fluid kind of what's it called again?
Cerebral
spinal fluid.
Cerebral spinal fluid starts to fill in those in that space. Mm-hmm. So so someone with a and that increases your risk factor. And he was, you know, like, again, drug abuse. So it probably drug, alcohol abuse. These things, obviously shrink your brain as well.
Definitely.
Exactly, and factor into that. So, and plus he's on blood thinners, so that ultimately sped up that process. So he could have had it was a slow brain bleed. So over time was his worst enemy, and you know, not having the full picture kind of sucked. And for everyone, I guess you can say in the end result, of this whole thing. But yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, it was a little spicy here and there.
Oh, I can imagine.
But that's
so.
Yeah.
A few questions that Anthony probably has and I have. I know my first question is: do you think that all of this could have been prevented?
I think it could have been handled better. Like I said, like the digital charting is you know, that stops a lot of gaps, and so that could have for sure been available. The videotape, that mystifies me. Of like, I get
the nurses
that
weren't able to get access to that. Yeah,
the nurses should have been able to see the tapes at least, or at least the head administrator, if there is anything, right? So, if there's some conflict, like, that she should be kind of immune to whatever liability.
Because that's at that point, it's advocating for the inmate at that point,
right?
In terms of health and safety, we need to see the video so that way we can determine, does this individual need higher level care or not, right? So I agree with you there. In terms of the paper charting, Mello, you'd be surprised. In a lot of places, not only in Canada, but in the States, maybe even overseas, a lot of facilities and healthcare practices, they still do paper charting, which is insane.
Yeah.
Especially in those remote areas.
Right.
And I just don't understand why they don't want to transition over to digital.
Well, here's my thing too.
Absolutely.
So along with the paper charting, at least at our hospital, let's say when someone has a fall or gets hit by something, if there is no witness to the fall or to whatever, like the hit, we automatically consider that person at risk of having some sort of
you assume the worst,
some sort of head trauma, right? So they automatically get put in for like a head CT and all these things because it's considered like an unwitnessed fall or like an unwitnessed event, and the patient themselves are not reliable because it's very possible they could have blacked out and not remembered.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%.
So in any event, if there is no witness and there is nobody that was there to see or recall what happened, they immediately get put on some sort of head protocol.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cleared.
And you know what? That, hospitals do have a higher standard. And I do, that was a factor. I don't want to say too much about that because that probably gives out that winds it down to which facility it is.
Right.
But yeah. So,
and then, so to me, I don't like, especially in this country, Canada, there's money being blown.
Oh, for sure.
There's money being blown.
Oh, for
left,
sure.
right, top, bottom, being blown. So my question is, who is in control of making these changes? Because clearly, obviously, I'm sure administration within these facilities or even in hospitals, they vocalize, "Hey, we need more funding." I guess they talk to the government, and I guess they determine.
Yeah. So the ministry. Yeah. So our treasury is the one who ultimately would see to where that money goes, and that's why it's important that we vote. So it's who we're putting in power to see where the money's being distributed. Because you could say we want this and that, but if there isn't the funds being allocated in the right places, it'll never. No matter how much we see that we need this. Like that treasury will say, well, this other thing needs this more. They have a better case to this and that, right?
Right.
So the ministry could ask, and inquire, but our federal, treasury ultimately determines that. And
what a shame.
So and there is a process that they're saying that they are putting in place where it'll be more direct, and I do forget, but it'll be more directly streamlined from someone. It's not a politician, but an actual healthcare cabinet minister that will have the be able to
make those
directly
decisions.
impact, make a decision to some degree. Whereas the structure that they showed it was going through all these, political hands before it actually got to someone, and healthcare administration.
Yeah, because if it's individuals that are like the Trudeaus, Doug Ford, or whoever, I'm just spitting out names. If it's them that's making the decisions, that's a no-no because they're not in the trenches like we are.
But not to mention, usually if it gets to that level, these things take some time. So, Mello, if you don't mind me asking, by the time, because you're saying this court case happened 5+ years after it happened, do you know if certain processes had changed by that time?
No.
Really?
So the only thing is that they're introducing digital charting. That's what they said they're doing, and one of the nurses did admit that they're getting onboarding to that.
Yeah.
But to me, that just seems like you can just put a process in. Like,
right, but not to mention, this is 5+ years later. Who's to say they weren't just doing this to show face for the court case?
Exactly. So that's the thing. You hit it right, the nail on the head. So to me, I'm not convinced. I'm like, I'll see change when I see it, right? I'll believe it when I see it, right?
You know what, Mello? You should go to jail there just to make sure that things are
right. Do an audit. Yeah, do an audit.
That's crazy. But honestly, no. Thank you for coming on the podcast through audio.
Yeah, brother. Thank you.
We appreciate your time, and I'm sure the listeners, the scrubbers, they appreciate you, Mello.
Yeah, bro. What a story.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem, man. I'm just glad you guys, to be on here as your first guest. And, I wish you guys all the best. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, my brother.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Peace.
All right. See you. All right. You too. Peace.
And there you have it.
Yeah, brother.
Crazy
what a story.
Crazy.
God damn.
Man, they just fucking up the money.
R.I.P. my nigga John, bro.
R.I.P. John the Third, man. It's insane. It's insane. I don't know why he said the third.
John the Third who cracked me the fuck up,
I don't
bro.
know why he said that shit.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's we'll wrap it up. That's episode 10. Very interesting, man. It makes you really think,
Absolutely.
who we're putting in office and all that.
Oh man.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the season finale, episode 10.
Let's go.
If you'd like to be a guest via audio anonymously, I'll make sure I don't say your name. Trust me.
Don't believe him.
Come on.
Don't you dare.
Come on. Send us the DMs. We'll get you on. If you have a story similar to Mello's, we'll put you on. We'll discuss it like we did on this episode. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Every Monday we'll be releasing an episode, and
yes, sir.
We'll be getting started on season 2, and we'll be getting actual physical guests as well as audio guests. So
absolutely.
Yeah, come on, share. All righty. Peace.